Good afternoon and welcome to Little Steps Live. Today in Hong Kong, my name is Nikki and thank you for joining us. As parents, we want our kids to make the right food choices and look after themselves. But while it's possible to tell our 8-year-old to eat up their greens, it becomes trickier as they get older and want to make their own decisions. Thanks to surging hormones and bodily changes, teen years are a difficult period for parents and kids alike. As teens and tweens seek to claim their own identity, it can also be a stage when they're having difficulties with foods, whether it's a lifestyle change or eating too much junk food or perhaps not eating enough. This is why it's crucial as a parent to figure out what the potential underlying problems might be and what can be done to help your child. Today, we tackle this tricky topic with the help of a health coach who is here to answer all our burning questions on teen health, nutrition, and well being. But before we get started with our topic today, a few friendly reminders from Little Steps. We are live twice a month, and if you want to be reminded of our live sessions directly to your phone, make sure to check our Facebook events calendar and simply click the topics that you're interested in. Don't forget to sign up for all our weekly newsletters across all our cities in Asia, from Hong Kong to Singapore to Kuala Lumpur and beyond. The link will be in the description below. We are live, so feel free to ask us any questions, add comments, and interact with us right here, right now. If not, don't worry, we will get back to you after the live session has ended. Now, to welcome our guest, I would like to introduce you to our guest today, health coach Neelam Daswani, who is here to share advice on nutrition and well being for teens. 2 years ago, her dad ended up in the ICU for post bypass surgery, and she found herself embracing a more holistic approach during his recovery. This difficult time has also motivated her to return to school and become a certified health coach to the Integrated Institute of Nutrition in New York. She has joined us today to help our viewers understand what a balanced diet looks like for teens, talk about hidden sugars, and offer tips on sleep and mindfulness. Now, as usual, we will be splitting today's discussion into three main topics. The first, nutrition, balanced diet for teens. Number two, hidden sugars. And number three, sleep and mindfulness. So let's get started on our topic one. Neelam, welcome. How are you?
Hi everyone. Thank you, Little Steps, for having me. And Nikki, it's lovely to meet you today. I
Lovely
am.
to meet you.
I've been in Hong Kong for possibly 22 years. I am a mother of a 15-year-old teenage boy. So the topic definitely is one I live with daily. But yes, your first question is about a balanced diet for teenagers. Now,
Yes, let me
children,
ask my first question.
okay, please
Let
go
me ask the
ahead.
first question. So the first topic will be nutrition and balanced diet for teens. So my first question is, how can we encourage our teen to balance their plate and eat more healthfully? So please, Neelam, how can we do this?
So, children, just like adults, have their individual needs. A very active male teenager will have different nutritional needs to that of one who's very sedentary, someone who's more creative and into the arts. So we do need to look at their
Mhm.
lifestyles and individualize their nutritional needs. But in most cases, just like I do encourage all my adult clients, we must start the day out with a very high protein, savory breakfast. The reason for a high protein, savory breakfast is it sets the day up in order for one to have less sugar cravings and slumps in the middle of their day. Some
I see.
examples of a high protein breakfast would include eggs, smoked salmon, overnight chia with oatmeal and Greek yogurt. Um, or simply for those rush teenagers, I would pick a very high quality whey protein or vegan protein shake, put in some
Mhm.
milk, almond milk, possibly even some nut butters, some berries, blend it all up, and there you go, a high protein, highly nutritious shake as they're running out the door. and they don't have the patience to sit down and have breakfast. Nikki, what do you tend to eat for breakfast?
I am a terrible breakfast person. I
Okay.
have become better. I have become a lot better because I have not been a very breakfast person, but now I tend to make myself smoothies, as you say, with a little bit of extra protein. Because for me, eating a full, let's say a full breakfast would be a
Mm-hmm.
nightmare for me in the morning. So I prefer a smoothie or something where I can just add my oats, add my banana, add my fruit, and blend it all and drink it. I
There
think
you
that is a
go.
very good breakfast for me
Okay,
because
so
I don't like to eat very.
I guess what you could do is just focus on adding that high quality protein in your smoothie. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
I
Um,
think I think that's a wonderful examples, and that actually brings me on to my next question because you've already given us some great examples for breakfast. Can you give us some great examples for lunch and dinner for teens?
sure. Again, it's really key that you do focus on the trifecta. The trifecta being protein, fat, and fiber. When you want to balance your
I see.
teenager's lunch and dinner palette and plate, we need to look at these the three different the three different types of ingredients that you do want to include in your dish. Um, I would suggest for fiber, please keep in mind vegetables, grains, high quality grains, vegetables, some beans, some nuts, as well as when you're looking at fats, you're looking at avocados, nuts, seeds. Proteins, again, you have a whole varied amount. For a vegetarian, there's always tofu and tempeh, lentils. For those who eat meat and seafood, you have a laundry list of different vegetables. So do keep in mind to vary the amounts and include the three. Just remember the trifecta and include all three on the plate.
Can we just repeat the trifecta so people, if people who have just tuned in, what is the trifecta?
Okay, so you're looking at my number one ingredient would be a protein source, two, a fat source,
Protein source,
nuts,
fat.
seeds, avocados, high quality olive oils, butter, something. The fat is going to keep them satiated. Without any fat in their
Yeah.
diet, they're obviously not going to be quite full. Fiber is very important
Mhm.
for the detox system. So you're looking at vegetables, high quality grains, you're looking at nuts and seeds, lentils. All of this will add good fiber into their diet. Yeah.
I see. Perfect. Perfect. Now, just a question. I imagine that you have a teen at home. Do you find it
Mm-hmm.
very difficult to encourage them to eat vegetables? I had a very
Absolutely.
hard time growing up as a child.
Okay. I've actually been blessed. My son eats vegetables daily. He
Oh,
loves anything
wonderful.
from like carrot sticks, celery sticks, vegetable sticks. You put, a whole jar in front of him, and he will wipe through
Mhm.
that at the end of his meal. Anything from Chinese
Wonderful.
vegetables and salads, he's good with. Most kids tend to like a few of their, they have a few of their favorites. And again, in
Yeah,
rotation, if you can cook them up differently, I'm going to get to how to engage their palates and keep the foods exciting um, in the next question.
section.
But
Yeah,
yes, kids must eat different veggies. So get them to try and taste.
good idea. Fantastic. Well, that is the next question because we've discussed breakfast, lunch, and dinner, the trifecta. So, what examples can you share of healthy snacks for teens? What can we put in their lunchbox or when they're going for their sports? What can we put in their lunchbox so they can have healthy snacks without them going to a 7-Eleven and buying all the bad snacks possible?
Um, so I would highly suggest guacamole, get them involved in
Okay.
how to make it, how do they like their guacamole? hummus with vegetable sticks,
Mm-hmm.
guacamole with blue corn chips. You can do some Greek yogurt with nuts and seeds. Deviled
Good
eggs is
idea.
another favorite
Nice.
in this house. Um,
Oh,
you
I love
can
deviled eggs.
do you like deviled eggs? So, eggs are not just limited to breakfast. You can also include those.
Exactly.
Um, Celery, apples with peanut butter, almond butter. Those are great snacks as well. So keep the snacks varied. And again, I would lean towards savory snacks over sweet snacks, just because it's
Why
going
is
to
that?
it's sorry.
Why would you prefer savory snacks over sweet snacks?
Well, sweet snacks can stay in the dessert aisle, whereas if they need a snack, they need something to energize them. And it's, again, sticking to the protein is going to bring them more energy during the day. A sweet snack might then give them a bit of a slump as opposed to giving them energy in the day.
I see. Very true. You get that sugar slump.
Exactly, exactly.
Fantastic. Now, it is quite common for teens to want to binge on food during the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
It's their time off. They had a long week at school. They maybe had a lot of extracurricular activities. So it's maybe teens want to have a binge activity on the latest series, whether it's Euphoria or whatever series teens are watching now. Is it okay for them to have a blowout with let's say binge eating, eat a lot of ice cream, or is it best to have a good, healthy, balanced diet always and no binging?
Well, I mean, I would love to say keep those binge nights or those treats for the weekends, for special occasions. Um, Save
Hmm.
it, really save it for when you need to bring it into the picture. The reason for this is sugar is more addictive than cocaine. Sugar is a new recreational drug. So once you get these habits of, having a blowout session or a binge session, it stays in your system and it takes years. Believe me, I used to be a sugar addict. It takes years for you to unlearn that habit. Um,
Hmm.
but however, we need to be very careful between the treats versus having a healthy relationship with food. So I would almost encourage you to always have sweets as an option. It's available, but really do a gut check. Like, does your body really need it today? Do you want it? Do you need it? Um, and in that sense, one is able to better understand the cues from their body to see,
Yes.
I'd rather not you not I'd rather have parents not set rules against
Yeah.
sugar or for sugar. And it's really like, how am I feeling today? It shouldn't be a rule of the house that we're saving the treats for special occasions. It should be have
Hmm.
it in your cabinet, but have it in your pantry. However, let the child decide for themselves whether they actually want it. It's really important as they are teenagers that they start understanding their body's cues. What is the message their body is sending them? Is it hunger or has it become a habit? So between those
Hmm.
two, where are we going? What are we doing?
Yeah.
How is it
No,
resonating
absolutely.
with the child? Um,
And I think it's great advice for adults as well. I mean, to check on yourself. Am I hungry? Or is this becoming a
is this
habit
a
to be a
habit?
habit? Yeah.
As parents, we are role models to our children. They will be looking at us and reading our cues on how we're eating. So it's very important that they don't see us um, dieting, over exercising, or
Yeah.
criticizing our own body. Because self criticism as a parent of our bodies then impacts them. It's really important as parents, we're very relaxed around food. It's there, the sugars may be there, but it's not part of our everyday, right? A piece of chocolate after
Mhm.
dinner is is a nice treat. Yes, go ahead and have it, But when it comes to binge eating and having a whole pint of ice cream, if they see us as parents encouraging it, then it just allows for it to happen.
Yeah.
But ideally, I know this sounds like a lot, but it would be great to engage the child with at least 30 different types of vegetables and proteins and fats a week. 30.
Okay.
So that's
You
the magic number to having a good
30.
gut flora. Yeah,
And this is all included, your trifecta, your fiber,
exactly.
fat, and then, yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Not
Yeah,
just
30
30.
different varieties. Yeah.
Okay,
And
okay, okay.
children and teenagers tend to enjoy the same food. So, again, introducing eating from the rainbow, possibly introducing one new recipe, one new dish a day, a week,
Mhm,
sorry, a week,
mhm.
that would be quite, it would just excite their palates, bring new recipes to the table, and then just give them options of different food groups to try and see if they actually
Mhm.
enjoy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. No, that's all very good advice. For people who have just joined us, I'm here with Neelam Daswani, a health coach. We are here talking about teenage nutrition and well-being and how parents can help. We've just covered our topic one, which is regarding nutrition and balanced diets for teens. We're now moving on to topic two, which is a big one, hidden sugars. And I think this is not just for teens, but for adults as well, for all of us. Hidden sugars is in everything. So we're now going to tackle this topic on hidden sugars. And I'm going to ask you, what are the hidden sugars and how do I spot them?
Okay, so first tell me, are you a sugar junkie, Nikki?
I am. I mean, I have become way less. I think if it's between savory and sweet, I
Mm-hmm.
would go for sweet rather than savory. But
Mm-hmm.
as I know that sugar is in everything, so I tend to drink all my drinks without sugar added.
Okay.
I try to
Okay.
drink only water and try to check every label there is to avoid extra sugars because sugar
Mm-hmm.
is already everything.
It
So
literally
it's a
is
tricky one.
everywhere. Literally
Yeah.
is everywhere. So learning to read a nutrition label is key. Yeah.
Mm.
So when you're looking at it at the back of any label, right? You're looking at a nutrition label. I want you, it can be a bit tricky because you have to look at the serving size and how much you're consuming, right? That's one. And number two, you need to look at the contents, how much is in there. Um,
Yeah.
but for every 4 grams that you read, equate that to 1 teaspoon of sugar. Yeah. So I'll
Yeah.
just give you an example. So foods with a lot of sugar that are hidden. Yeah. You'll see most breakfast cereals tend to be very high in sugar. Look at their
Mhm.
labels. They may say whole grain, fortified with vitamins, but that doesn't necessarily mean there's no sugar in them. Kids' cereals definitely are very high in sugar. Any sweetened yogurts, that's another one where they catch you, where like a blueberry yogurt, a strawberry yogurt that's sweetened. When you look
Mhm.
at the back of that label, you may find a huge amount of sugar in there.
Yeah.
Um, Condiments is where most teenagers get fall into this
Really?
trap. Now, a favorite is ketchup. For 1 tablespoon of ketchup, there's 1 teaspoon of sugar. For since we are in this part of the world, oyster
Yeah.
sauce is another big one.
Yeah.
Um, for 1 tablespoon of oyster sauce, there's 2 teaspoons of sugar. So
Fair.
look at the back of everything you buy in a store, especially all your sauces. Most pasta sauces are sugar laden, very high in sugar. Store bought
Mhm.
pasta sauces. Um, Balsamic vinegar is another one that's really high in sugar. Um, so when we're looking at all of these ingredients, for myself, awareness is key. If I'm going to eat my sugar, I want to eat it in a piece of chocolate. I want to buy dessert and eat my sugar knowing I'm eating sugars,
Mhm.
not all my hidden sugars. Now, we haven't spoken about hydration at all, but most beverages, and like you were saying earlier, you stick to water, but soda and juice is very high in sugar.
Energy
Um,
drinks tend to
Energy
be
drinks, and
really
I mean, the most obvious example is a can of Coke. One can of Coke that's probably 330 ml contains over 40 grams of sugar. So do the math, and that's 40 divided by 4, 10 teaspoons of sugar in one can of Coke. So that's where most, and when you're saying, let's save this for the weekend, if they're having
yeah,
Cokes on the weekend plus like a whole pint of ice cream, their sugar, their insulin levels are going sky high.
yeah,
And then it becomes quite a habit, because once you do take in that much sugar, you keep wanting more. You
of
need more,
course.
because it's a huge dopamine hit that
Yeah,
makes you happy. And that happiness button, right? As soon as you start coming crashing down, your body then signals you to crave more sugar.
of
So it becomes a
course.
vicious cycle. So those are
And I
just some examples of some hidden sugars, and how to read sugar labels, which I think is very key to get the children
Mhm.
involved in reading sugar labels. I've worked with a lot of teenagers in the past, and the first thing I do is, I walk into their kitchen, we pull out a few things that they tend to eat quite a bit of, and I just teach them how to read the sugar labels. And when I do, automatically, at least when they're grabbing that can of Coke, they're aware that it's 10 teaspoons of sugar. So if I'm going to have that Coke, maybe I won't have dessert.
Exactly. And just to ask a question regarding looking at the label, because it isn't just sugar you're looking for. You're looking for glucose, you're looking for fructose, or and where do you, because normally when you look at a label, let's say if I look at any cereal, sugar usually is at number two, but then I see number
Right,
three and number four is like
right,
fructose,
right.
glucose.
Yes.
So
So sugar has many different names. Um, Artificial sugars. Um, so when I look at sugar labels, I
yeah,
I in the sugars that I find safe to introduce to the children are monk sugar, stevia, allulose,
okay,
and erythritol. A favorite
okay,
in this house is monk sugar, only because it doesn't have the aftertaste that stevia may have. And
yeah,
you're 100% right. Anything that ends with an OSE, so there's maltose, sucralose, um, list is endless. It's a sugar that's made in a lab. Yeah, it's a sugar
yeah.
that's made in a lab, and most most products then claim that that is sugar free, because it's not considered a sugar that is calorific. However, it is an
I see.
artificial sugar that may mess with your digestive system.
Exactly. Okay, great. Good to know. Thank you. So we've discussed where to find them and where they
Mm-hmm.
are and how to spot
Mm-hmm.
them. What are the true harms? Let's say if, as you said, it is quite addictive. If I see my teen being addictive to sugar, what is
Mm-hmm.
the eventual harm if she or he eats too much sugar? Is it just ending up as a diabetic, or are there far more problems that could arise?
Okay, so sugar causes anxiety as well as
Okay.
digestive discomfort in children. I
I
worked with
see.
one teenage girl that said she would eat a pint of ice cream, she would binge, and literally sit on her bed with a tummy ache. But she couldn't,
Oh,
because all of her friends were eating it, she wanted to join
yeah,
them with the
of course.
with the indulgence, but it actually
Yeah,
affected her stomach and her digestive system. So
I
sugar can
see.
cause a lot of gastric issues.
Yep.
Sugar can also cause anxiety in children. Mm?
I never knew that. It makes so much sense though, because it does kind of pump you up.
It definitely raises the volume in your body, right? So what
Yes.
happens is, like I said, it's considered a recreational drug. So once you get hit by
Mm-hmm.
it, you want to stay on that high. And the
Mm-hmm.
reason it causes anxiety is, along with, it's not just sugar but also trans fats and junk food may cause that too.
Mm-hmm.
It basically interferes with your neurons that
Because
cause
you're getting dopamine.
the
Because
brain the
dopamine. Yeah.
exactly, the brain then starts to become very hyperactive. I don't know
Mm.
if you've noticed, when you first feed your infant or your toddler sugar, they do go a bit nuts. um, Over time, we obviously get accustomed to the dopamine hit that sugar then provides us, but it does cause a hyperactive brain, which then causes more anxiety in teenagers as well as adults.
I see. So it's not actually the energy that you get from sugar. It's more that the dopamine, you're getting happy energy in your brain. So therefore you become more energetic, but at the same time, anxiety can also kick in.
Exactly, exactly.
I see. Because I think a lot of parents will think sugar gives my child energy, but actually is giving them happy emotions, but that can lead to anxiety.
Yeah, it may give you an instant boost, but it's one that comes crashing down very quickly, and that crash is
I
what
see.
starts to give you that anxiety, that your blood sugar, your insulin levels are going up and down. Um,
Okay.
a
So yeah,
great
as
way, a great way to actually just order the way in which you eat food so that you don't have as much of an insulin crash is to start your meal out. You start your meal out with some greens, right? Followed by fat and protein. And if
Mhm.
you are going to have dessert, which I do every day, I have a piece of chocolate every day. I have it right after my meal. And that then, because there's so much food and protein and fat, all the trifecta is already in your system. When you do get that sugar hit, it it may not be as high. The curve is a lot more balanced. So if the children are going to eat dessert, I would do it right after dinner as opposed to in the middle of their day on an empty stomach as a snack.
Absolutely. And hence why you said before you prefer a savory snack over a sugary snack. So let's
Because
say if you're very hungry, yeah,
there's nothing in your body at that time, right? But when you're
exactly.
having a sugary dessert and a treat, have it after lunch, have it after dinner, have it even after breakfast. The kids are going to eat a chocolate croissant. Give them some eggs, give them their avocado, their protein shake, and then they can go ahead and have their chocolate croissant, because they're not going to have as much of an insulin hit.
No, I think that's wonderful, wonderful information because I think a lot of not just teenagers but also adults will quickly grab a sweet croissant for in the morning, and that will be the first thing and only thing that we'll eat. And normal that they will have a crash by 11 if you think
Oh,
about
for
it
sure.
logically.
And they're going to
Yeah,
be, I mean, we grew up on American cereal and milk,
yeah.
and that's 100% sugar. And
Hmm.
10 o'clock, we were, I mean, as teenagers, I remember being
Yes,
hungry, and then grabbing um, a sugar laden granola bar, thinking that's quite
exactly.
healthy. But
Thinking
however,
exactly.
it definitely didn't fill me up at all. So do focus on savory snacks, savory meals, savory
Yeah.
breakfast, and encourage them to eat dessert, but keep the dessert after a meal and in moderation.
Fantastic. Thank you. You were talking about some of the things that you were having in your household, which are alternatives to sugar. Can you explain to us and our audience what kind of alternatives to sugar we could use in order to still have some sweetness in our lives?
Sure, sure, sure. For both adults and teenagers alike, this is something you can easily switch. My favorite sugar, as it has no aftertaste, is a monk sugar. It's actually made
I've
out of a,
never heard of it.
have you
I'm
not
gonna
heard of
write
it?
it
It's
down.
actually made out of a
No,
tropical
I have not.
fruit. It's MONK, discovered by Tibetan monks. Um, and it's available on iHub and at most, you'll be surprised, it's even at the Park and Shop in Parkview. It's taken the world by
Oh,
storm. Most diabetics include monk sugar in their coffees, baking. You can bake with it. You can mix it into your salad dressings, pasta sauces, anything that calls for sugar in a recipe. Um,
yeah.
my clients have been very, very happy with monk sugar because I'm not, even if they are in a weight loss space, I'm not asking them to remove all sugars out of their diet. All I ask them to
Hmm.
do is replace the sugar they're on with monk. There are,
Yeah.
like I mentioned before, there's stevia. I'm okay with it, but a lot of people don't like the aftertaste of stevia. Um, and then there are two more. One's erythritol and the other one's allulose. All four of these are made out of natural sources and not in a laboratory. So these sugars do not raise your insulin levels. Hence, you don't get that crash, the dopamine crash. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so yes, and it's important that they look, when you do look at a box that says sugar free, have a dub, take a dub, take another look at it, check to see what's
Yeah.
actually in there. And if the
Absolutely.
ingredients on the back don't sound wholesome, coming out of Whole Foods, um, I would question it. Anything
Okay.
that has crazy, numbers on it is definitely made in a chemical lab, enhancers, etc. So just be very careful with packaging, as what may sound like a super healthy box of cereals, of chocolates, fat free, sugar free, which is the trap we all seem to fall into. Um,
Yeah.
and my last word on sugar is I want us to look at it as teenagers, we are very vulnerable and susceptible to
Yes.
getting hooked on items. So as long as you keep it relaxed, and you keep the environment relaxed and have the sugar available, but not
Yeah.
make it a habit. um yeah, yeah, and include some sorts of protein. If you're having like sugar, include some sorts of protein, and keep it so that you don't get that crazy hit and you don't get addicted to it.
So just out of curiosity, so monk sugar would be different than saccharine, let's say, because saccharine is lab made and monk
Yes.
sugar is from natural ingredients only. Just to give our audience the kind of the difference, because I think a lot of people try to avoid sugar by grabbing stuff like saccharine that is lab made sugar
Sweet and
and
low equals
sweeteners,
saccharine.
all these
All
stuff.
of these
Yeah.
sweeteners are made in a lab. Yeah. Um,
And you
your
would advise
audience
against
can your audience can look at my Instagram page or
yeah.
just
Yeah.
DM me, and I will send them the link to where they can, if they can take home anything today, I would like for them to get rid of all those artificial sugars and replace them with monk
Yeah,
sugar.
I think it's
Yeah.
great. I'm definitely doing it today. I'm
Yeah.
looking for monk today. Yes.
I'll send
Awesome.
you the
Thank you.
link on iHub. It's the
Yeah.
easiest.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, for the audience, for people who have just joined us today, I'm here with Neelam Daswani, a health coach, and we're discussing teenage nutrition and well-being and how parents can help. We're already done with our second topic. Our first topic was nutrition and balanced diets. The second topic was hidden sugars. And the third topic is sleep and mindfulness. Now, if you have any questions whatsoever, we are live. Feel free to ask us questions during the live interview. If not, we will get back to you after the session is ended. But any questions regarding topic one or topic two, please ask ahead and we will answer them right here, right now, live. So now we're moving on to topic three, which is sleep and mindfulness. And although we're discussing it mainly for teens, but I think sleep and mindfulness regards us all. So this is a topic for everyone, and it's very exciting. But we're doing sleep and mindfulness also with the idea of nutrition and how that can help. So we're moving on to our next question. What do I do if my child is having problems with sleep? Either way too much or way too little.
So Nikki, sleep is possibly when I first start coaching clients. This is my most favorite place to start, as without a proper sleep cycle and sleep hygiene, it's impossible to change very much else in one's health. Yeah. Sleep is crucial to rejuvenate the mind. When you're sleeping, your brain is going through a lot of detoxing, healing. Your memory is, you create your memories, your dreams. All of this is very healing to the body and your mind.
Yeah.
And maintaining adequate amounts of sleep is optimum for health and well-being. So lack of sleep leaves one feeling run down, struggling to focus, and very, very irritable. Um, lack of, I guess, when you are sleep deprived, you tend to reach for sugar to keep your energy levels up, which is the direct correlation. Studies have shown lack of sleep and obesity come hand in hand. um, so it is, given we live in a large city, Hong Kong, we have very, I'm not even just saying we, our poor teenagers have very, very fast paced lives. They tend to forego sleep in order to get everything done, right? They're overextended in every way, just trying to catch up with work, responsibilities, extracurricular activities, and sleep is the first thing to go. Um, However, sleep is so important for their brain development, as well as when they're recovering from all their after school activities. Sleep is what's going to help them on the tennis court, in the boxing studio, at the gym, etc. Um, Teenagers, as they go from 13 to 18, they tend to sleep much later in the day, in the evening. For example, I
Yeah.
probably sleep a lot earlier than my son. He tends to put me to bed now, as opposed to
Yeah.
me putting him to bed, because by 10 o'clock I don't want to leave 10:30. Whereas I know he
Yeah.
goes to bed at 11 and he's up for 7:30 at times.
That's still a good
um,
8 hours.
yeah, he tends to get 8 hours.
That's very good.
He's he's a sleeper. He's always been a sleeper, so he tends to need his sleep. But it's just their body clocks. That's when their mind is still awake. Their body is not ready to go to bed at 9 o'clock anymore. So we need to respect that. Many
Mm-hmm.
schools have a later start time for
Mm-hmm.
secondary years, and I'm really hoping the rest of the world gets on with this, because the
Yeah.
teenage brain just functions at a different time as they get older. However,
I would.
um, they still need 8 to 10 hours of sleep.
Yes.
And this is something, yeah, many of them are not getting anymore. A clear
Mm-hmm.
indication of lack of sleep is if they're falling asleep during the day, or they can't focus very much after
Yeah.
after school. Yeah, you'll see them falling asleep. Um, I worked with one teenager. I think he was 16 and a half at the time. S- Um, he had a 4.0 GPA, and he just
Mm-hmm.
kept wanting to stay up as late as he possibly could in order to study and get his
Yes.
homework done and prepare himself for the next day. However, he was falling asleep on the school bus, he was falling asleep at the dinner table, etc., etc. And I simply introduced 20 minutes of, I wouldn't even say mindfulness. I almost gave him the license to go take a nap. Um, get home from school, go take a nap,
Yeah.
turn on some sleep music or anything relaxing. Set
Yeah.
your alarm for 20 minutes into your nap
Power
time,
nap.
your
Yeah.
power nap, exactly. And he was so much more focused and productive that he was no longer staying up to 1 in the morning. He was able to get his studying done and everything else he needed to complete by 11:30, and he was in bed. So
That's
we
great.
reversed that by just offering him that power nap,
Yeah,
15 to 20 minutes in the middle of your day. If you're tired, if you're exhausted, lights out.
fantastic.
Um,
Yeah,
so
we have a question from our audience. Sorry, please continue. Finish your point first.
go ahead. I was going to next talk about, so as parents, what is it that we can do to
Mm-hmm.
to ensure that our children are sleeping?
Yes.
Yeah. Um, so there are a couple of things that I have worked with my clients on. But the first thing is to create a proper sleep routine. And by that I
Yes.
mean routine, as we parents know, as children, as babies, all our kids needed routine. There's, they come home at 6 o'clock, there's dinner time, bath time, book time, etc., in order to create that environment where we're actually going to put the child to bed. In the same way, teenagers too still need some sort of sleep hygiene or some routine. um, so it's encouraging them to have that routine. I would keep all devices away from their bedrooms, or at least by their bedsides. If they refuse to charge their phones in the living room, at least far away from their bed, so they can't reach out to grab their screens in the middle of their sleep routine. Um, Also, a trick that I like to introduce my clients to is already by dinner time, if you can start dimming any ceiling lights. So create a very, almost an ambiance of just using your table lights,
Going to
candles.
sleep. Yeah.
Exactly, because this will then help melatonin, which is your sleep
Yeah.
hormone.
Yeah.
But at their age, they should be having enough melatonin that they
Mhm.
produce by 6 p.m. This should start setting in. So to encourage that melatonin, I would also work on having dinner with dim lights, even in their bedrooms. To keep their bright lights away from, um, I guess, after dinner time. Um, a supplement I sometimes do introduce to clients is magnesium glycinate.
Mm-hmm.
Um, 60 to 70% of the population is deficient in magnesium. We're no longer getting it from our food sources. Magnesium glycinate.
Okay.
Magnesium basically relaxes the nervous system. So
Yeah.
by simply introducing magnesium glycinate an hour before bedtime,
Mm-hmm.
they may then just have, like we said, their brain might be on overdrive, so it just helps them relax a little bit. For very, very severe cases of sleeping disorders, um, I would even add on melatonin,
Okay.
but in very, very small doses. Most over the counter melatonin capsules are about 3 to 5 mg. However, as we're just trying to fix this over time, for a course of 2 weeks, I would introduce just zero point 0.3 to maximum 1 mg of melatonin, 2 weeks, so that they can start resetting their bedtime routine. And yeah, it works wonders.
I
It
have
works.
noticed melatonin becoming quite popular. Would you advise against self-medicating and first finding a health coach or a nutritionist to discuss whether you should or should not be taking melatonin?
Exactly. So hence I said for very severe cases,
Yeah.
melatonin may be introduced. Magnesium glycinate, on the other hand, is
Is a much
a miracle supplement.
perfect.
Magnesium works well for those teenagers who have also overexercised. Yeah, because
I
it helps
see.
with
Yeah.
any aches and pains, muscle recovery. So apart from just sleep, it really does help with muscle recovery. and relaxes the mind. So that's one I would turn to first. Yeah, and if you can't get that sleep hygiene and routine in place, you may have to do a couple of drops of melatonin, but in very, very small doses.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. So, a question from our audience. We love questions from the audience. Thank you so
Mhm.
much. So, she asks, how about if my 12-year-old wants to become a vegetarian? What do
Okay.
I need to make sure she gets the right nutrition?
Okay, great question. Um, and the reason he is asking this question is because as a vegetarian, it's very hard to get your protein needs.
Yeah,
Um, so with vegetarians, I tend to ask them. I'm not sure whether this vegetarian is vegan or vegetarian in terms of
I think vegetarian because nowadays they would have said either vegan or
vegan.
vegetarian. So I think
I
just a
would I
vegetarian,
would
the person wants, the
be
child
hope
wants to become a vegetarian.
right. I would be hoping that she includes some eggs into the
Okay.
diet. But if not, tofu,
Yep.
tempeh, lentils, quinoa, nuts and seeds are very high in protein. Spirulina as a supplement is great for
Oh,
vegetarians.
yeah.
Nutritional yeast is another one that's high in protein. Dairy, Greek yogurt, cheese, um, can also be used as protein sources. As a vegetarian, I would really have them focus their meals based on protein, yeah, and less of the
Yes.
grain, because
Yeah.
most vegetarians tend to eat a lot of carbs and not enough protein. The
I see.
vegetables
Yes.
obviously are a given. Fat is easy, avocados, oils, nuts, seeds. But as a vegetarian, I would really want them to focus on their protein sources, um,
Mm-hmm.
and possibly even include a vegan or whey-based protein shake.
And
So,
can you recommend any protein shakes that you think are great?
um, most of my clients are on a take a brand called consumer brand called Protilicious, and
Okay.
it's a cold pressed whey based protein out of New Zealand, and it's got
Awesome.
stevia, so it's a great sugar,
Yeah.
and it comes in strawberry, chocolate, and plain. Um, so my son has that every morning. He has the chocolate
Mm-hmm.
shake every morning. I enjoy the strawberry with some Greek yogurt for dessert at times. But that's a clean, again, like I said, a clean cold pressed whey protein shake.
Yeah.
Um, a vegetarian vegan shake could be there are quite a number on iHub online
Yeah.
that you can source. Orgain is a great one. Orgain. That's a
Mm-hmm.
that's a plant-based protein, and I believe that one has monk sugar in it. So again, it's a clean protein shake. So as vegetarians and as children, their protein sources may be limited, so adding in one protein shake a day may just help keep their bodies up to level with their protein intake and needs.
I see. Perfect. So going back to mindfulness, I also want to thank our guests for questions. Please keep them coming. We're on the last bit of our Facebook Live, but please remember you can always ask questions even when we finish our live session. We will get back to you. So email
Mhm.
us, put them on comments. We will get back to you, and we're looking forward to it. So on the last bit of sleep and mindfulness, we've discussed sleeping problems, and if we can now discuss what kind of mindful practices can help teens, and what kind of if you can share some mindfulness practices that you can do together as a family as well.
Okay, so when we talk about mindfulness, I mean, I would love for teenagers to sit down and do breathing exercises, or listen to some a mindfulness app and just relax. But it's asking
Mhm.
quite a bit of them.
Yeah.
So I think when we look, when I mean, very few of them are would absorb that at this age, right?
Yeah.
So I think we need to also talk about, when it comes to nutrition and mindfulness, what is it that we can do? Kids are being
Yeah.
bombarded with messages at the moment about dieting, right? It's like you open
Yes.
it. I mean, just get on Instagram, and it's like there's every blogger out there is giving them advice on what to eat and how to eat, etc. And it's a very delicate time, because this is when they actually start having ideals about what their body should be looking like. Their bodies are changing, and it's like they look at themselves, they're like, what is it, how is it that we want to look, right? So it's
Mhm.
imperative that we support this time with some really just encouraging healthy relationships out of with food. They tend to
Yeah.
be on autopilot at the moment, where they're consumed by their busy schedule, that they're distracted when they're eating, which may lead to overconsumption of food, eating junk food, or sometimes even skipping meals because they're just too distracted and busy. Um, so a way we can definitely help them here is to understand and attend to the signals the body is sending them, right? They need to
Yeah.
be satisfied from the food they're eating, not just eating it. And we need to prevent emotional eating, as well as make them understand now, how is it that you're going to eat, what is it that you're eating, and what impact is it going to have. So
Mhm.
we've got quite a number of things that we can be looking at. But
Mhm.
mindfulness around food, I would suggest, I have a trick called the three S's. It's a formula I use. And it's I would like for them to slow down, sit down when they're eating, slow down
Yeah.
when they're eating, and
Yeah.
also savor every bite. And by that, I mean, read into the texture of the food, the taste of the food, the volume, the quantity, who's prepared it. Like, get interested in looking at the food that's in front of you and enjoy
Mhm.
it. So it's the three S's: slow, sit, and savor.
I love it. It's such a
I
good one.
think I think that's
I think it's for everyone, not just teens as well. I think as adults we tend to eat in front of the television and kind of plow it down and move on to the next task and not really focus on what we're putting in our bodies and
it.
really realize.
It also takes 20 minutes for your brain to send your gut this signal that it's actually full. So if you don't slow it down a little bit, you tend to just overeat, and you don't wait for those cues. You don't read those cues that maybe it's enough, or maybe it's not
Absolutely.
enough, right?
Yeah. Well, Neelam, I want to thank you for today. We have come to an end of our discussion. It's been a wonderful, wonderful Facebook Live. I've learned so much in this time, and I hope our audience has also learned. Now, if any of our audience wants to help their team eat better, you can book a session with Neelam at her website, which will be down below in the description on neelampurehealth.com. She offers 3 40-minute sessions for teenagers in person or in Zoom. And this can help them have behavioral changes over the course of 1 month. So, and you can see her Instagram is now up as well. So any contact with her, we will have the link in the descriptions below. Neelam, I want to thank you so much. Do you have anything to add before we finalize our Facebook Live?
No, just that as parents, and to your listeners, you're doing a
Of course.
great job. Um, Parenting teenagers is not easy, so hang in there. And yes, they can DM me on Instagram if they have any questions. Feel free to reach out, and yeah, keep your kids happy and healthy, and balance that plate.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It has been a wonderful discussion. Thanks everyone for joining us on Little Steps Live. I hope you had all your questions answered. If not, we will get back to you. If you'd like to see more of our videos or similar videos, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Next week, we also have a very exciting Facebook Live with solicitors. I think it's regarding the topic divorce, so it should be quite an interesting one. Neelam, I want to thank you again. Have a wonderful day, everyone. I hope this has answered all your nutritional questions and have a good time. Thank you so much and goodbye.
Thanks, Nikki.
Thank you, Neelam. Thank you.